what Livingston's wanted to do was bring it to life. So not just design and build, but design, build and monitor.
So welcome to this edition of the Founder Playbook. Joining me today is Ian Stuart, formerly of NatWest Group, where you spent 16 years with the business, with that large financial institution, and 11 of those spent as their chief engineer, where you worked on data centre projects across the globe. Ian, welcome along.
Thank you.
So Ian, after so long with the bank, why the move and why into Livingston?
So two things really. Life changes. So recently become a granddad.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Want to spend more time at home with the family. But Livingston's was a contractor being used already within critical environments. But there was a real gap in the market for a contractor who would be able to look at clients' needs, clients' wants, and to be a guide for them. So somebody who would come along, deal with everything about understanding the current risks, their operating models, and the owners of Morrison Spottiswoode, who are the parent company of Livingston's, looked at this, had an opportunity and presented to me an opportunity. And I felt there was so much available gap in the market where people are not helping the clients apart from their own needs. Not saying every contractor's the same, but what Livingston's wanted to do was bring it to life. So not just design and build, but design, build and monitor. So it was the availability to work with clients to understand what do they need, how do they need to do it, how do they need to operate. Being able to look at existing procedures and processes and policies where they can be adapted. And then design, build, and assist a client with operating data centres and critical office areas. But then assist them in making sure that their staff had currency of competency. And that's something we spoke about previously. And I'm a real advocate that just because you're competent today doesn't mean you're going to be competent tomorrow. You've got to continually evolve. And a lot of clients don't know how to get that out of their staff. So what we want to be able to do is come along and say, we can assist that.
I guess coming from that heavily regulated financial environment means that you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's when it comes to critical environments and managing, monitoring and maintaining them.
Yeah, we've been audited by external auditors. NatWest Group had an extremely good internal audit division. And property services, who I used to work for, were heavily regulated and heavily audited. And I think that's put me in good standing to be able to go to our clients and say, from a client, I understand what a client needs, what a client should have. And I know where the pitfalls are. And every day's a school day. And we're going to learn about clients. But I feel that with what Livingston's can do is actually develop with the clients a really good, robust, because what we'd want to try and do is de-risk for them, remove that potential for failure or faults.
And where are you currently seeing, when you're working with clients at Livingston, where are you currently seeing, or is there a regular pattern of where you see faults and where their kind of critical business plans are failing?
I think from what I'm seeing at the moment is a lot of clients don't quite understand the terms concurrently maintainable, fault tolerant. They believe they have resilience, but it's a very basic resilience. Not every client actually understands what resilience means, which is you need to keep uptime. You need to keep going. You need to have continuous operations. And what we want to be able to do is to say, look, we can come in, we can audit you, we can assist you, and really develop those for them. We're not saying every client has got major issues, shut shop and walk away. What we're saying is there is definite gaps because people aren't spending the time and money, or they're not afforded the time to be able to do training and understand the systems.
Yeah. And so why then do you think it was, or now was the right time for you to take that leap away from NatWest Group and into Livingston?
As I said, it's family reasons was a prime one, but I saw the vision that Livingston's had. I know there's a big gap in the marketplace, both in data centres and critical office areas, pharmaceuticals, where people need that assistance. And Livingston's had the dream, and it can be turned into reality. So for me to leave a role that I had to come into Livingston's should demonstrate to people that I've got firm belief that the morals and the values that Livingston's have got are going to come to fruition.
Yeah. And I guess, after spending such a long time with NatWest and obviously as our chief engineer, this must be quite a passion for you.
Critical engineering for me is not just data centres. It's wherever a business cannot afford to be offline. Data centres are very much at the forefront. Everybody needs technology. And I think where my passion comes from is there is always that opportunity to help people, get them to understand. Because I think if we can get people to understand risks, understand what resiliency means, understand how they should be delivering a service, it's going to make life easier for everyone. And it's a big opportunity to try to get your thoughts, your soul out to different people. I always used to say to all of the guys who used to work on our maintenance teams, the biggest thing to remember is no one wants to eat prison food. Because the thing with infrastructure is if you don't have the skills, knowledge and experience, it can be a dangerous place. So you've got to come into work thinking that you have got a role, you've got a responsibility, but also you've got the autonomy. If something isn't safe, you don't do it, you stop or you switch to off. And I think that's a big piece is people need to have the confidence that they're being given that autonomy to actually act.
And are you seeing a skills gap in the market right now when it comes to working in these critical environments?
There is a big skills gap. And I think the reason why there's a skills gap is people believe that once you're an electrician or an electrical engineer, that you can evolve into any role. You can, as long as you have the right skills, knowledge and experience. It's very much so that you can be a very, very competent person building houses, doing small office fit outs. You start to get to very complex LV, like low voltage, or HV high voltage networks, data centers where everything is uber critical. It's a different skill, it's a different requirement, and you need to have a different mindset. And I think this is where that skills gap is.
And on your journey now with Livingston, what's the sort of key principle or value that you're going to take forward? What's going to help shape how you run this side of the business?
I think it has to be collaboration. And the one thing I will always say is that as a contractor, you know what you can deliver. Some clients know what they want, but don't know quite how it's to be delivered. It has to be you are a trusted advisor and you are living the values of not only Livingston's, but the client. So the one value is getting to understand, know the client, and actually understand what they need. And I think that's something that people don't do. And that's something that Livingston's critical engineering will be doing, is actually understanding the client needs. And it doesn't necessarily mean every opportunity is going to become a project. You could just say to them, you don't need to actually spend the money. And that's that trusted piece.
So what advice would you give those starting out in this industry?
Never cut corners. Spend the time learning. Every day has to be a school day. And as well as doing formal education, there's lots of free courses that you can do online. There's courses on LinkedIn. Certain original equipment manufacturers have their own schools and colleges which are free courses, part of continued professional development. Never get to the point whereby you feel, I've done my academic, I'm done. You've got to evolve with the way that the world is working. The new AI technology is going to mean that systems are going to become more complex. It's just because you've got AI doesn't mean it's going to be quicker, simpler and easier. Every day, learn. And if you're not sure, ask the questions. Be brave to say, I don't know the answer. Because the person that you want to trust most is someone who says, I don't know, but I know who to go to or where to go to. That's what people have to understand.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. It's someone that one simple thing of saying, if you don't know, ask, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know and you ask, then you will know. It's something that I say to people if they come into my team. It's if you don't know, ask, because then both of us are going to get on quicker.
Yeah, exactly that. Every day is a school day.
And finally, is there anything you would do differently in your career?
I think if I knew some of what I know now before, I probably would have done some of my higher education a bit earlier. I'd done my master's degree when I was 42. Probably left it a little bit too late because my children were doing their school exams and it was a nightmare at the house. And it's very difficult doing it. But I think what that demonstrates to people is that I live by that value, which is you need to re-educate. You need to continually develop. So to my younger self, it would have been, as well as doing the work, carry on doing the formal education. But I think that wouldn't have made me the person I am now because I had to develop along the route. So I think, that's the one thing I would probably change is, could I have done more education at that time formally? But on the other hand, I think what I have demonstrated by when I've done my master's is living by my own values, which is you have to continually adapt.
Yeah, you've walked the walk.
Yep.
Ian, thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma.